In this issue of Three Top Picks, I'm speaking with John Stroyer, the CEO of Calvert Research and Management, which is one of the few companies that's focusing entirely on ESG investing.
In terms of ESG stewardship, I think the three most interesting economic sectors are industrials, technology, and the consumer sector. In the industrial area, companies have really come to understand that producing products that are energy efficient, resource efficient, both in terms of what they can do for the downstream customer, but also in terms of how they're produced, is a real competitive issue, a real competitive advantage. So the payoff for doing deep ESG research in the industrial sector, quite strong. There's a lot going on in that industry, and it really matters, I think, to the stock prices and financial results in that sector. In the technology sector, a big piece of the equation is data security and data privacy, both in terms of hacks and breaches, but also the concept of, hey, what is happening with the information you have got about me? And can I trust you with that information? Consumers are making decisions about platforms that they want to be involved with, credit agencies that they're willing to work with based on their perception of data privacy and data security. It's a big issue there. And of course, in the consumer area, companies are competing every day for consumer mind share. And today, consumers are really concerned about where their products are coming from, what's happening in the supply chain, and also the health impacts of the products that they use day to day. So those three sectors are really hotbeds of activity in terms of competition and what ESG management means to those financial results.
Now, John, within the US, the gun lobby has been a perennial topic within ESG investing and particularly relevant in recent times. How do you traverse this topic within your funds management process?
The gun safety issue, I think, is uniquely American, and it's a real problem. We don't have that many publicly traded gun manufacturers, but we do have some large companies in the retail segment that have historically sold guns. And by law, a company can sell an assault rifle with a high-capacity magazine to an 18-year-old in the United States. So our regulators and lawmakers have really failed in terms of bringing sensible gun safety rules and regulations that can create safety and well-being, especially for our young people. As you know, recently there was another tragedy in a high school in the United States. So what do we do and how do we deal with this issue? Calvert swang into gear and engaged directly with the retailers of guns, asking them to raise the age to 21 from 18 and to stop selling assault rifles or high-capacity magazines. I'm sure that seems like common sense and the least one can do to the audience here in Australia, where you have a much different culture and much stronger gun safety rules and regulations. But in the United States, even getting those common sense changes through is met with fierce opposition from the NRA. We've been successful on this go-around. Maybe the United States has reached a tipping point with this latest school shooting. However, we need to keep that momentum going. So in addition to engaging with the retailers, where there has been some success in getting them to raise the legal age to 21, and stop selling assault rifles, at least the big publicly traded ones, we really need to get other companies involved and try to create policy change so we can get better laws, safety checks, background checks, and waiting periods between the time somebody wants to come in and buy a gun and they can actually get one. So lots to do in the United States on gun safety. It's a long road ahead. Investors definitely have a role to play. And as you know, we face real challenges from the gun lobby in the US.
And John, just lastly, do you see much movement in terms of sectors that have traditionally been excluded that are now becoming a bit more ESG friendly?
Companies and entire sectors that have historically been problems for ESG-oriented investors are working to change. As you would imagine, these are the highest impact areas. The miners, the oil companies, sometimes the banks, and then individual companies within multiple sectors. So, for example, in the US, 5 years ago, only about 20% of the large companies in America were producing a sustainability report at all. Today, almost 90% of companies are producing a sustainability report. While producing a report doesn't drive results, it is an indication of the fact that most companies today are taking ESG performance differently and more seriously than any time in the past. And interestingly, some of the highest impact companies and sectors are taking it most seriously because they have come to understand the risks associated with climate change, water use, and ineffective mechanisms for dealing with their workers and the communities in which they do business. So these risks have become real. They've created financial liability for companies, and the companies that we might think of as the ones with the most ground to make up have really been coming on and trying to address the issues.
Any advice in this video is general advice prepared by Morningstar without reference to your financial objectives, situation, or needs. You should consider the advice in light of these matters and any relevant product disclosure statement before making any decision to invest.